My mental reaction is what I am. Are you reacting to the old self? Maybe you feel stuck in one state of consciousness, in one situation. So the situation happens, you feel this emotional reaction to it, and you're invested in it. Your thoughts are all focused on the situation that you don't want. Therefore, when there is a not wanting, there is a wanting, probably the opposite of the situation. How do I change that? Understanding the law, understanding that we live in a hologram that is steady, that is a solid dream, that is continuous, and it doesn't change by just one thought like it would if I were dreaming in the night. We have to learn how to shift. So if we understand that once we're in a program or a state of consciousness, our thoughts come from our emotions, and our emotions perpetuate that thought or train of thought. So most people ask, how do I change that? I want to change, but then the impulse to react to the same situation is always there. That is because we're not in control of our higher self or consciousness. We're asleep. And when we say asleep, I really mean it in the literal sense. When you're asleep, your conscious guard is asleep too. So what happens in a dream is that we lose focus on what we're seeing. Very few times we have moments of lucid dreaming, and we realize sometimes we're dreaming. But most of the time, we are accepting what the dream is telling us that is happening. The difference is, you can see immediately how fast you can change a dream when you're changing your consciousness there. So sometimes you find yourself in a field and you're feeling super peaceful, and then all of a sudden you feel this fear, and then the dream transforms itself in the instant to become some form of a nightmare. In this world, it works the same way, but not in that immediate interaction of things. It has a pace, and it could be faster or slower, but it's never as fast as in the night dream. This is why, being in the state of consciousness, we perpetuate it by thinking about it, therefore reacting emotionally. That emotional reaction perpetuates that thought. You have a choice. You can choose to not react emotionally to the situation. For the world, this means nothing. But for yourself, if you understand that a shift in consciousness is a shift in reality, then you'll see how when you learn to neutralize the impulse you have to feel that emotion towards a situation that you don't want, you are releasing and neutralizing your power to that situation. So that situation becomes from subjective circumstances to objective, like an observant from the outside. When you see a fight in the streets, there are two strangers fighting. You might be curious, you might have an opinion of it, but you're not invested emotionally in that situation because you are from a different point of view. You see, God gave us His name, which is I am. But what is that really? It's a consciousness that has a point of view right now, called you. To that consciousness, you added, I am Paul, I am poor, I am not talented, I am not loved, and so many other things that to you it seems to be, but it's not really true. We play this game where we call truth some things that could easily change if we knew this law. We're shifting the nature of the dream. It is possible, but you had to become somebody else. You can't just see the world from the same point of view you were seeing it before. So you become this person that was invested emotionally in this negative situation, to neutralizing that emotion, to not seeing it negative or positive, like an outside stranger watching that fight or that circumstance. You can learn to do this, and I promise there is a reward when you do this. There's a freedom you find when you notice you have a choice to not put your emotions there and therefore releasing the thoughts about it. Put your attention somewhere else. You can do this. But sometimes we like to stay in a situation because it's part of our nature, and we justify the reasons why we keep thinking about this. But you're only kidding yourself. You can always walk away vibrationally from anything. And there's a freedom, and that freedom is an energy, is a vibration. If you could only see the world through vibration and not through literal matter circumstances, you can actually see the reasons why things happen in your world. When you're not invested anymore in there, you walk away emotionally, vibrationally from that situation, and guess what's going to happen? Eventually, it will die out because you're not giving it your power. And watch what happens next. If you invested your energy in a higher vibration of a most desirable situation, healthy one, balanced one, things are gonna shift around you. It never fails because this world reacts to your emotional state of consciousness. So your mental reaction to any situation, you may see it as good or bad, it won't matter. Your mental reaction is what you are. When I change my reaction because I understand why I was reacting that way, therefore I am understanding more of the state of consciousness that I'm in that I want to get rid of, I release that, neutralize it, and that state loses life in me. Therefore, I have shifted my perception and I have moved in the psychological map of consciousness. Even the slight move will make you see the world differently, therefore any situation differently, and it may get you closer to your desire. You see, you are free from any limitations, but you put yourself under those limitations by believing in them, by reacting to them, and by investing the only real currency in the planet, which is our emotions, our perceptions, our sensations. You are the prisoner, but you're also the guard, and you created that prison for yourself. Don't be the victim of your thoughts, which are not your own, are only part of the program that runs through you. Observe them like the being you are, neutral, like a witness watching a movie, and you'll see how easy it is to let them go. Once you start to do this, you'll find how easy it is to feel balanced, and not only that, how easy it gets to perceive your reality. There's an abundance that is going to run through you. There's such a powerful energy that you're going to feel the actual words. All things are possible. Who do I want to become? To what do I want to react? Can I play and feel the sensation of that beautiful, beautiful dream that I have? When a thought comes and tells you that's not possible, watch where it's coming from. If you pay attention, the light of your consciousness will shine to its irrational reasoning. Watch science, watch anything in this planet. All the time is changing. 100 years ago, people had a different state of consciousness, so there was a limitation in the collective consciousness that made men think that some things were impossible. So for them, it was. Because what seems to be is. It really seems to be real for them. I love this statement by Blake. It's so beautiful, and yet we don't quite get it sometimes. He says that he got this from a higher consciousness, from a different place. He says, what seems to be is, it really is, right? What seems to be is, to those to whom it seems to be, and is productive of the most dreadful consequences to those to whom it seems to be, even of torments, despair, eternal death. Isn't that crazy? Because we don't really notice that our worst nightmares are not on the outside really, but it's the internal torments we create. And of course, outside it looks that way, but that is only because it's being created from a consciousness that is projecting in this holographic universe what we are creating from within, without knowing this. But Blake continues saying something beautiful. He says, "But the divine mercy steps beyond and redeems man in the body of Jesus." This is from Jerusalem. You can look it up. So people don't really understand what mercy actually means, and it's a very important thing to understand it. Mercy is something that you get without having to work for it. Mercy is getting something which otherwise we will never get from a different place. Meaning, without knowing this law, without knowing we have Christ within us, which is this powerful God self that is creative, we will never get out of this loop of eternal death, which is this planet. Because if you look around, this planet, this hologram, is the world of death. Everything rots and vanishes here. Nothing lasts in this planet. This is not our real reality, but we're playing this game right now. But without knowing this, we will never find the escape from this place. We will never find the spark of divine recognition within ourselves. This is why the law of imagination is so powerful. To be honest, think about it. Your higher consciousness doesn't really care about our desires. Our desires are there as impulses to make us look more for the answer of who we really are. So mercy comes from within. From this loop, it will be impossible to escape the chains. But the body of Jesus, of Christ consciousness, this powerful, creative consciousness, comes to us and tells us, "Here I am. Spark me, ignite me through your desires, and look how your reality changes." So in the end, it's not the desire we want what matters. In the end, what matters is heightening the quality of our consciousness, going into higher and higher vibrations. So if you see the cross, it has two lines. Remember, the cross has many layers of meaning. In this planet, the cross is not a physical wooden cross where some person died. Of course, many people die in the cross, but that's another topic. The cross represents your body and also the timeline and the vibration you're in. Instead of going horizontal the rest of your life in the same timeline, you start to go higher and higher in different vibrations in the vertical line of the cross. I'm not going to get into that right now, but to give you an idea, what matters is heightening the quality, the vibration of our consciousness, and we do this through the impulses of desires. This is why we have to look for the I am first of all. Through that, we create faith. Faith in believing in the invisible substance that creates worlds, and therefore not giving it more power to the physical planes, and not reacting to small situations that in the end they will disappear from our lives. And the less and less you react to mundane, sterile thoughts we constantly have throughout the day, you're going to perfect the quality of your consciousness, and your life, even if you're not desiring anything specific, is going to be more balanced, more perfected, more corrected, because your consciousness is the law, and is doing this by detoxifying from those sterile thoughts. So, instead of being a constant unconscious reactions to what's going on in your life and call it a bad thing, neutralize those thoughts. Stop giving them importance. Don't believe everything you think, and let it go, because the will to change has to be more intense than the will to remain the same. And remember, your reaction comes from your interpretation of what's going on. If you can take your mental and emotional addition to a situation, watch how easy it is to let it go, and therefore that situation won't have power over you. And that is when God is walking away from smaller things to bigger ones. There's going to be an expansion in you when you start doing this, and then it's going to be much easier to perceive different realities. Because always remember and try to grasp this from the vibrational point of view, those realities will always come from within you. So thank you for listening. And if you like this video, you can subscribe to my channel and click on the bell to receive notifications. Have a great week.